Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Atreus. Happy birthday to you. Y'all see him there? That's Atreus. It's his birthday today.
I was about to interject. I don't think that's the right thing that we celebrate today with regards to Jesus.
Happy Final Fantasy Rebirth Day to Jesus Christ, who was born again 3 days after dying and coming out of a rock cave. Oh, happy Easter, everyone. We are recording this on Sunday, March 31st. If you are watching it live, you'll notice, whoa, we're super early. And that is because Alex, surprisingly, has Canadian Easter on the same day as Christian Easter. And so that happened, I guess, for the first time ever this year. And so he's got a little dinner he's got to go to, so we're recording early on today. Normally, you'll find us on twitch.tv/Affability. It's on Sunday evenings around 8:30 Eastern Time, p.m. But right now, we're here about 5:16 p.m. Eastern Time, doing this instead. I'm one of your hosts. This is Respawning Fire, the Kick-Ass Forever Gaming Podcast, brought to you by Affable. I'm one of your hosts, Chad Michael. My dog's perfect and is 3 years old today, Ennis. We've got our regular co-host here. Adam has a dog whose name I cannot remember. How old are they, Gumbert?
Oh, I don't know. 4? Maybe? 5? I don't know.
What's their name?
Her name is Cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
Yeah, she's stupid. Like, she's great, but she's like actually unintelligent. But it's fine. She's a lovable dog.
And our RAF regular joining us again here today is Alex. I don't even know. Do you have pets? I feel like you'd be a bird person. Cozina.
Yeah, so the pet situation, I actually had a goldfish when I was very young that died after 2 days because my parents didn't know how to properly change out its water. It was very sad. In terms of pets, I'd love to get a pet rat, if you can believe it. I get the impression that's not what you were expecting me to say. It's actually Anthony Gallegos of the Comedy Button and many other podcasts over the years actually kind of turned me on to the idea of rats being kind of cool animals to have as pets.
I'm also laughing about the goldfish.
They also they don't live for very long. Like they typically only live between 2 to 4 years. So it is kind of a time bomb of sadness for when they eventually perish.
Is it?
In terms of actual like real man's pets, I mean, I'm actually more of a dog person than I am anything else, even though I've never actually owned a dog. Back when I was working from home very briefly in 2023, I was like, maybe I should get a dog to help keep myself more active. But now that I go into the office all the time, it's just not really feasible, unfortunately. We do have a cat called Jackie. You may have seen her appear on the podcast a couple of times in the past, but she's an asshole.
What a name, Jackie. I don't think I've ever heard of a pet being called Jackie.
Have I not told the story of how she got her name on the podcast?
If you have, I do not remember it.
I don't remember either.
She, as a kitten, was a very rambunctious and adventurous kitten. She always used to jump all sorts of places. And so they initially called her Jacques Cartier, which was a famous French explorer who explored around a whole lot of Quebec way back in the 1600s or 1700s, basically in the old wooden teeth time. And then they realized, oh, we thought that she was a he, but in fact, she is actually a she. And so we're going to change her name to Jacqueline. Jacques Cartier, Jacqueline being a more feminine sounding name. And then we got Jacqueline, and we decided, you know what? We're just going to call her Jackie. And so there you go.
Excellent. You can catch us on demand on YouTube and podcast services Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We've got a lot of things that we are going to be discussing today, mostly around PAX East. We'll also, of course, later on get into a little bit about the new Marvel shooter game that was announced, as well as some Embracer news. But first, let's jump in and break down all of the things in and around the trip to Boston, aka PAX East. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to start kind of high level, very general about Boston, the trip, etc., and then kind of narrow down in on PAX itself, and then eventually into the games that we played and our experiences there. I know this was my first PAX East. Alex, I think this was your first PAX East as well.
Yes.
And Adam, this is your second
it
PAX, but
was.
first PAX East, right?
No, second East, third overall PAX.
Third over. Okay. This was anyone's first trip to Boston?
I had been to Boston in the past, but like it legitimately had been over a decade since I had last been there. Both the pandemic and just the passage of time had meant that I had not been there in quite some time. I literally did not recognize anything in the city. So might as well have been entirely new to me, but I have technically been there before.
Gotcha. Adam, can we all just talk about how shitty Boston was? Like how it was maybe one of the worst cities in the world?
I wouldn't say that necessarily. I will say that for as large of a city as it is, the road situation doesn't really make sense.
That's why
That's
it was
my
shitty.
only main gripe. I like everything else about it, but yeah, it was like, why are there so many 2-lane roads in a city of millions and millions of people? Like, well, what is going on with the situation here?
Yeah, and the roads don't make sense. I posted a tweet basically the day that it happened, so about a week ago, if you want to go back and look on my Twitter, of a screenshot of maps of an intersection. And there are 3 different left-hand turns you can take at this one stoplight. And it doesn't necessarily specify which of it's impossible to tell. And there are like 55 different ways coming out of this intersection. And that's like every intersection and all these fucking tunnels and everything sucks. But honestly, that's about all I saw of Boston was driving to and from the convention center itself.
Yeah.
And then a couple of restaurants nearby that we were able to walk to.
Also, very cold and very rainy. And I will say, I kind of shot myself in the foot because going to Boston, I was like, definitely not going to be as cold as it is right now in Montreal. I'm going to pack one of my lighter winter jackets. And so I definitely did myself a disservice on that regard. But come on, Boston, you can be a little bit more bright and sunshinier than that.
Oh, this was nothing. This felt great. When I went to the last PAX East in 2017, it was literally a blizzard the entire time. It was like 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So this was a summer day compared to what I was dealing with last time.
Good on them for rescheduling it to May for next year, I guess.
Yeah, then that's a good move.
Yeah.
So we did a fun thing where we all went up, the 3 of us plus 5 other people. No, 4. There were a lot of people. We had Dallas, we had Matt, we had Jerica from JK Games podcast, and Audrey was there. And then we had Joel from Pixel Street podcast was there. We had, one night we even had Joseph from Crossplay Conversations podcast there.
Yep.
And we just all shared a big Airbnb and rented a couple cars and just drove around and hung out as a big old group. We had a ton of fun in that apartment. That's the way to do pretty much any vacation. If I go on vacation ever again with a group of people, it's like we're not staying in separate hotel rooms. We're all just gonna get one giant room. Maybe the next time with more beds. But aside from that, I had a fucking blast.
Oh man, it was a great time, and I gotta say, I appreciate everybody's level of patience with me in setting up the Canadian Candy Corner and doing the cooking stuff. When I, initially was planning some of this stuff out, I was like, I don't even know if this Airbnb that we're going to be staying in is even going to have like a kitchenette to prepare some of the stuff, but it did. And man, me being able to like cook for everyone else, even though it was a little sporadic here and there, was a lot of fun. And you pair that with all the other shenanigans that we got up to in that place and also in the place in Rhode Island as well. And it was just a really memorable trip.
I think it is important for folks to know that Cozy's Candy Corner,
the Canadian Candy Corner. Let's call it what it is.
Cozy's Canadian Candy Corner was an entire giant carry-on suitcase full of Canadian snacks and food.
It actually was not a carry-on. It was a check suitcase because that's how big it was.
Yeah. Just full of things that he then arranged in the most beautiful display on the table of this Airbnb. And then we all fucking ate like starving cows for the next 4 days. Just every time we walked by that table, grab a candy bar or fucking coffee crisp wafer shits or all the fucking eggs, Kinder eggs left and right. And he just brought all of us over for us to just pig out on. In addition... to planning to cook like 4 or 5 Canadian-inspired meals for us, like full meals as well.
Yeah, some of the things didn't work out. I was originally planning on making pudding chômeur, which if you had played Sea of Stars last year, you might remember as being one of the dishes you could eat in that game. Pudding chômeur didn't work out, but I did make maple cookies towards the very end, which were very, very good. I was very pleased with that. I know Matt, I think it was Matt on Twitter, wanted us to talk about that. Good maple cookies. Feels a little bit self-centered for me to say that myself as the person that made them, but I think they came out okay.
No, they were fantastic.
If you want to see...
And not only did you make good maple cookies, you made like 14 dozen good maple cookies for like 3 hours while we played that card game.
Well, so the problem, what happened is I like legit went to 3 different grocery stores to try to get flour to make the pudding chômeur. Eventually, I just had to go to a Whole Foods. It was like the Whole Foods near the Airbnb. Went in there, got the flour. It was like raining like hell, and so I had to like stuff it underneath my coat and walk back to the Airbnb all huddled over to make sure it wouldn't break. Got back to the Airbnb, and maybe it was the rain, maybe it was just it being damaged beforehand, but there were all sorts of holes in it. And so like all the other groceries that I'd gotten over the course of the week, I could like give away, like, hey, here's like an unused thing of salt. You can add it to your pantry. But the flour I literally could not give away because it was broken. And so I had to use up as much flour as I could on the last day. And so I'm like, fuck it. I'm making literally like 100 cookies with all the remaining flour.
Yeah. Dallas in the chat, D Smitty Games says, those cookies made him fall in love with you. He wishes you were his wife. Don't tell Nikki, his actual wife. Yeah, we sent him home with probably, 3 dozen cookies? We sent him home with 3 dozen, maybe maple cookies. In addition to, he had a paper grocery bag that he had put like, here are the things that I want to take. And then while he was packing up the cookies, we put most of the other food in his bag as well and didn't tell him. And then I put the cookies on top of that other food and put it in his car. Whew. He went home with so much shit.
Worth pointing out, Matt and Dallas pulled through and also brought a whole ton of snacks themselves. I specifically requested, hey, you guys should bring a bunch of American snacks because obviously there are a lot of snacks that are, readily available in Canada, readily available in America that we don't get in Canada. And they really pulled through in that regard. I had a lot of fun eating those. What were they? Pretzel sticks? There was like that
Dots.
Very specific pretzel stick brand. Dots. Those were great.
Did anyone eat the beans? Anyone eat the maple beans?
talking about the beans in the chat.
Someone took
maple beans. They look like baked beans soaked in maple syrup.
People took the maple beans home. I don't think anybody ate them during the trip, by the way. By the way, if you want to see the Canadian Candy Corner, you can go to twitter.com/AlexKazina, ALEXKOZINA. I just retweeted it, so you can gaze upon this beautiful bounty of Canadian goodness once more.
So food aside, what about the con itself, PAX East? What'd y'all think of it as a whole?
I'll let Cozy or you go first because you guys haven't been before. So,
yeah. I mean, the thing is I had previously been to, even though I've never been to a PAX before, I had been to like conventions of the same level of size. I'd been to, for example, Fan Expo Canada, which is set in Toronto. I'd been to Anime Expo, which is in LA in like the same convention center that E3 used to be set inside of. All that said, like this was definitely on another level in terms of it just being like a video game kind of centric event, because the prior two events I alluded to were not necessarily devoted entirely to video games. And yeah, it was just what was sort of different about this convention compared to some of the prior ones I had attended to is just like the experience of me being able to actually get in and like play games. And what are you guys laughing about? What's happening in the chat?
I'm laughing about Come Piggy. Alex's greatest gift to the world.
I don't know if we can tell all the details of that story. But yeah, someday we'll do so. But yeah, I mean, this trip was really different in that, it was the first trip where like I was properly going down there to not just take in the sights, but also like actually play with a lot of the games that are on the show floor and like interact and, lightly interview the developers themselves. And like that human connection, I think really like made that trip extra special. It was one thing to be able to kind of like take in the Willy Wonka candy factory around me. It was another thing to actually form these like, human connections with a lot of the people and surprisingly discover ways in which you're actually more familiar with some of these people than you would anticipate, as we'll get into with some of the games later.
Yeah, this was my first video games convention for sure. I think I've been to like one other work related one, but this was definitely my first video games convention, and it was I don't know. It was a very good experience because I realized that there are a lot more games that I would like if I would try them. And what I mean by that is like we had press passes. So ahead of time, like a month ahead of time, we started getting emails saying, hey, we're going to be at PAX. We're a game developer. Here's our game that we're going to be playing. And it was, here's a description, a paragraph description of the game. Maybe they'll link us to the Steam listing that has, some screenshots of it, or even just a trailer. And to be honest, I looked through all of those invitations and I was like, maybe 80% of them was like, nah, not really for me. But then I actually go to this thing and I see these games in motion on the floor and I'm like, fuck, I want to play everything here. All of this looks so good. And it made me realize that I probably would, there are probably a lot of games out there that I would really enjoy if I just actually had an opportunity to sit down and play them without the barrier of needing to seek out the game, potentially purchase it and download it, and then, find other chunks of time in my day to actually go out of my way to play it. But if I'm confined to a convention center for 8 hours at a time, 3 days in a row, and there are just so many games around me that I can, play at a moment's notice, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that I actually really enjoy that I wouldn't have thought I enjoyed even by watching trailers. So I'm really glad that I went. I'm excited to go back to future PAXs, whether it's west or east or north or south, or the one at the center of the earth. All of those sound great. So
PAX Australia?
Yeah.
We going to Australia?
Is that
PAX
a thing?
Whole Earth, I believe, is the one.
I think it was, but I don't think it's happening anymore.
No, I think Australia is still going. I think South is the
Okay.
only one that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, con is fun. It was interesting, this show floor compared to the other ones. I think, like Cozy talked about earlier, they moved it to May because it was being so close to GDC. I think some of the bigger booths weren't there, but it was fine for me because I'm with Chad. I like playing the smaller stuff anyways, because you get to like actually talk to like the person who made it, which I think is always like the coolest thing of all time. And then of course just like meeting people. So again, it's like that thing where we know a lot of people from like the internet or other people who podcast and stuff. Even some people like Chad knows Matt and Dallas you guys have met in person obviously, but like you don't get to always see them all the time, so that's fun. But then it's just like tons of people that you just know from online, or you like their podcast, or you like whatever they do, and then meeting and then just like hanging out with them for like 3 or 4 days straight is super cool. That's always my favorite part about it. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to give a shout out to Jacob McCourt. I think that's him inviting me to West was part of the reason why I think we got to get media. I don't know, maybe not, but I'm going to give Jacob all the credit. Just because I like Jacob anyways. But like getting the media stuff on top of just meeting all these people is like the best stuff ever. Because I don't mind waiting in line, but I'm be honest, I like not waiting in line, and I like having a scheduled time, and then it's like, oh, you're the person I'm talking to at 4:00. Well, we're gonna do this, and I think that's a really cool, fun experience. And it was just, it was also so when I went to West, it was a big thing of contention because they put it in 2 different convention halls. Because I guess it used to be in one, and they built a new one, whatever. I love it, and you had to walk. And they were like 2 blocks away, but still, this just being all in one area, very comfortable inside. I was like, it's going to be like hot ass because there's like 1,000, more than that, like 100,000 bodies in here. Felt great. Everything was cool. I enjoyed it very much. So yeah, I was happy to be able to go back to this one and have the experience we had.
To the whole thing about us being there as media, it definitely was. And I know that for some people this sounds so unimpressive, but it definitely was we made it moment where we went upstairs on that first day and we let ourselves into the media only room.
Yeah, you go to that media only room, realize there's not a media specific bathroom, but there is a less known bathroom by the media room, and you get to poop in a nice clean stall. That's how you know you've made it.
And it's not like the media. It's not like the media only room is like a place where everybody's just constantly having a party and they're dishing out free food. Like, it's just a room.
Well, there were 2 media only rooms. You went to the wrong one, obviously.
There were 2.
The other one was just full of Malort. It was just a Malort swimming pool, and you just swim with your mouth open.
Man.
Did not go in that room at all.
On the other side of the con thing, I don't know if I expected there to be as much merchandise as there was. I feel like maybe 1/3 of the whole floor was places to buy games and loot boxes and retro shit. In fact, I bought Lord help my wallet, I bought all of these Game Boy games there. Well, no, not all of these. Some of these I already had. One of these I already had. So I bought the rest of these Game Boy games there. Quite a few Pokemon games, a couple Legend of Zelda games. Cool spot. Look at this. Cool spot on Game Boy. You know, that 7-Up themed one. I got, Pokemon Gold, Silver, Yellow, Blue, Zelda DX. Well, technically I got this one in Rhode Island. I got a couple of these in Rhode Island. But yeah, it was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? We might see that come back on a future game show, perhaps.
You actually, to be fair, you actually got that one at the video game store that we went to in Rhode Island.
The same exact store in Rhode Island that we went to that sold me a bum copy of NSYNC's Get to the Show on Game Boy Color. So, and I think I also got this SpongeBob SquarePants video.
The video,
Volume 2 for Game Boy Advance, and I dropped it. Let me tell you, y'all. The resolution on this thing, I ended up watching like 20 seconds of one on my analog pocket. The resolution of these videos is expectedly trash. We knew that was going to be the case.
Yeah. It's like
blurry,
144p, right?
The audio is not something I expected to be. I forgot what audio coming out of a Game Boy speaker sounds like. And then when you try to have human voices and music coming out of it, not chip tunes from a GBA cartridge or from a Logic board, but it is almost unlistenable. I assume if you have headphones plugged in, it's better, but holy shit, the sound on those is terrible. No wonder that did not become a thing.
They released a couple of Pokemon episodes in that same Game Boy Advance format. It would be cool to get a couple of cartridges of those, but they're probably pretty expensive.
There was one at Bowser's Basement in Rhode Island. There was a Pokemon one.
Oh, really? Yeah. No, that was it. By the way, Bowser's Basement, another good, cool place.
Bowser's Basement was the fucking best of all the places, all the retro stores, even PAX.
I think I got Codename Steam there for like $7. Pretty good.
Yeah, pick up Perfect Dark there. Went to Matt's childhood basement and got a repro of Conker's Bad Fur Day and Snowboarding Kids 2. Snowboarding Kids 1. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about panels and games. What panels did y'all... I think there are two that I want to shout out. One was the Cyberpunk panel. That's where I got this shirt. This shirt is worth infinitely less than the pin. If you were able to choose a pin or a shirt, and no one told me, hey, this is a limited edition pin that as soon as you walk out of this room, someone's going to try to pay you $150 cash for that pin. And instead, I got the t-shirt. It's like, oh yeah, I'll wear the shirt. Turns out it's worthless. It's fucking worthless. Anyway, panel itself was pretty great. Seeing the devs there and then seeing them again at the restaurant later that night, and then apparently at the bar all night, even after they said, we're so tired, we just flew from the GDC, we're so tired, and then they were just up fucking all night long. But you mentioned Jacob McCourt earlier, Adam, and of the 3 panels, I think I saw 4 panels I saw, holy shit, that guy knows how to capture an audience. He is he is the most professional, most entertaining and engaging panel host that I think I've ever seen at anything. So that guy's awesome. Glad to feel like I know him and can be connected to the world through him.
Yes, I like Jake. Again, he's got that energy for those panels, so that's a good one. For me, let's see. It was cool to go to the Kind of Funny trivia one just to see all those people who also like Kind of Funny stuff, because I don't see them in the wild. Got to make fun of Snowbike Mike. He's like, hey, bud, what's going on, bud? And I was like, hey, Mike, what's up? By the way, we followed each other on Twitter for 4 years, and I don't think we've actually ever spoken before. That guy, he's literally followed me for 4 or 5 years. I don't know why. I followed him back. I ain't going to be rude.
Mike was a real nice guy.
I
got a chance to catch up with him just randomly on the show floor later on. He was just exploring all about. And apparently he's seen a bit of my cooking show. And I was like, hey, if there's any suggestions for anything you think I should make in the future, by all means, let me know. And he's like, yeah, you should make omelets, because I've never had an omelet before, and I want someone to sell me on the majesty of an omelet so I can finally be inclined to try one. And so, yeah, Cozy vs. Cooking Season 5, one of the episodes, we'll be making omelets. Announcing it right here.
Oh, very nice. Snowbike Mike omelet. And then the other one I did was Brendan Groom had a video game cocktail hour one, which was fun because it was late. See, now I've never gone to the convention center after it closes, because the show floor closes at 6, but the panels go up until 10 o'clock. So I was like, it's weird walking through this empty building, but we went and did that. And I got a sheet with all the cocktails. That was a fun panel because I like alcohol, and that was fun. Again, the main thing was like seeing all these people at panels that like, oh, I know you from Twitter, or we've talked, or we've done a podcast, and like we're all here at this panel for this other person who did a panel for this. It's great. It's fun.
All right, now to get to the meat. I know we've already talked for 1,000 minutes about PAX in general in Boston, but the games we played. So the way that we're going to do this,
I mean, we can still spend an hour talking about the barking crab. If you guys want to talk about that
no,
place.
pass. They were so.
I did not know. I did not know that like a lobster roll costs like $40. I mean, it makes sense because lobster is like an expensive animal, but yeah,
just don't eat it. Lobster's gross.
Yeah, don't eat it.
You don't have to pay $40 for something gross just to say you ate something gross. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to switch over. If you're watching us on YouTube or on Twitch, you get a lot of visual goodness because for all of the games that we're going to talk about, we have at least some gameplay trailer going in the background, so you have an idea of what we're going to talk about. But we're going to go through one at a time. We'll just like each of us brings up a game that we played or that we saw that we wanted to talk about that and that we just enjoyed that we're looking forward to, and we'll just go until we're out of games to play. So, Adam, I will let you pick the first game. What are we hearing about first?
All right, first one I'm going to talk about is Lucid, which, again, this is such a cool thing because now I don't know if he'll be listening to this podcast, but the developer for Lucid gave me my preview of it and now follows me on Twitter and just like the last tweet that I did about the show. So who knows? We'll see. But Lucid is, they describe it as a Celesteroidvania. So what they did was like, okay, I'm making appointments for Apogee. And I'm like, I want to see Lucid. They're like, cool. We had like a special meeting where we went to a suite in the hotel and we got to sit in the hotel with him and play it. Very close to getting my game of show. I only didn't do it because I'm like, this is probably going to get way too many awards. Let me share the love with other people. It's so good. So basically it is, if you're watching the video, you want to look it up. Like in Celesteroidvania. So the platforming, it's a 2D platformer, beautiful pixel art. And it's like the platforming of Celeste. Like you have a jump, you have a double jump, and then you get a bunch of abilities as you go. But basically, there's crystals you can punch in the air. And it gets to that point, like in Celeste, where it's like I'm doing like 10 hit combos to like get up this wall and like jump through this portal and jump over here and shoot a thing and then hit this one up here and then go up. And it's wild and it feels great. And it's super, super good. But then it also has combat to it as well, which is you get the Vania part where you have combat, you get new powers to do new stuff. I played it for about 30 minutes. We got real close to the end of the demo, but I was like, you could just feel it and be like, oh yeah, you've got it. Like this feels good. Like this is going to be one of those. Everyone was super into it. I'm super into it. I think he's talking about going to Kickstarter first. So I think you can maybe check out the Kickstarter and then get a demo of it or something like that. But I would just keep your eye on it because I think a lot of people were like, yo, Lucid is what's up at PAX. So definitely check it out. Again, I haven't actually beaten Celeste, but after playing that, I'm like, well, I want to play your game, but maybe I should actually go back and finish Celeste as well.
100% finish Celeste.
This is
but also, yeah, this looks fucking tight.
It is very, very good. Yeah, it's called LUCID, Lucid, from Apogee, getting published by Apogee. But yeah, awesome game. Everyone check that out. I will give me 1 second. I can tell you exactly what the Twitter is for it. It is _the Matt Black, MATTE Black. That is the Twitter for them. Go check them out. And there's a Kickstarter link right here in the Twitter, but it's solid. It's really good.
Dope. All right, Cozy, what's your first game?
Well, it's funny that you say that, Chad, because the first game that I played was also, I think, the first game that you played as well. It was Rugrats Adventures in Gameland.
Oh, liar. That was my second game.
Oh, no.
Maybe my third.
Shit. Well, wow. Holy shit. Boy coming in here playing a whole lot of games Friday morning. Nevertheless, Rugrats Adventures in Gameland. This is a game that I played alongside Chad at the Limited Run Games booth. This is a game I had previously heard of beforehand. My experience with the Rugrats TV show, very limited, but I did watch the 2 Rugrats movies, the one where they get lost in the forest and the one where they go to Paris, a whole lot as a kid. And so I was happy to check this one out. It is a platforming game, very much inspired by Super Mario Bros. 2 and also just standard Super Mario Brothers. I appreciate it. So the thing about this game is the game gives you the option of choosing between Phil, Lil, Tommy, and Chucky. Thank God I remember their names.
Fake fan.
And an issue, whenever you would watch like the Rugrats TV show or movies, an issue that you would always have is like being able to distinguish between Phil and Lil because they look and sound very much alike. One thing that I appreciate about this game, especially in the kind of NES version of this game, is that how easy it is to distinguish between Phil and Lil because they give them different kind of contrasting colored kind of like outlines. As a whole, game felt good to control. There was some like fun throwbacky stuff to kind of the NES era games that it's paying tribute to. Like, for example, Chucky having like a flutter jump animation similar to, say, Luigi, again, in not New Super Mario Bros. 2, original Super Mario Bros. 2. The game was a little bit more challenging and had, I think, slightly more confusing navigation than I think I was expecting. Of course, the environment in which we played this game was, very different from how it'll be when we're eventually sitting down and playing this game at home when it kind of properly releases for all of us. And so maybe, intensely focused and concentrated on the game at hand, we won't find it perhaps as confusing. But yeah, the game definitely took more out of myself and Chad than I think we were anticipating. I don't know if you feel differently.
No, yeah, it was definitely very challenging. And maybe that's on purpose because they did say this. What was really interesting to me about this game is that they legitimately developed this game for the NES. Like, in 2023, put a bunch of resources into developing an NES game. This game will ship on an NES cartridge. And then we're like, hey, let's also put HD graphics on this thing and add in parallax effects and things like that, while still having the same underlying gameplay and core mechanics and all of that of the NES version, because you can actually switch graphics on the fly. But part of that is like, it's a callback to those old school platformers on the NES in both aesthetics but also difficulty, because we were dying. And actually what's funny is to hear the developer throughout the entire thing like try not to say when the baby dies because that's a really morbid thought. They were instead saying when one of the babies is crying, which is like they're out of health, you can actually go and give them more milk or give them a cookie to revive them. But another thing I really enjoyed about this game is that while it seems to be its own standalone like adventure, it's not really necessarily harkening back to any specific episodes. There are like little cameos and things like that from different Rugrats episodes and movies and things like that. So like, it was a really interesting thing.
I see that stupid sippy cup. I remember that guy.
Yeah, that sippy cup. It's also hamstrung a little bit by the NES because everything that they did in the game for even the HD version has to also be playable on the NES. So it only has 2-player couch co-op, no online play. So that kind of sucks because this would be really fun to play, I think, for a weekend with a couple friends online, but you got to be sitting next to each other on the same system.
All right, Chad.
So that was Rugrats. I'll talk about Baladins. So I played Baladins, which is a game from Armor Game Studio. I don't know. Their logo was literally just on the screen and I missed it. But it is a 4-player co-op D&D game. Like it is. You all like make your characters. I played as Pyro, this cat, which has some really cool destructive powers, but it is a D&D game world. It is an overworld with different spots and towns that you go to. You have unlimited number of movement spaces you can move each turn, a number of action things that you can do each turn. So as you go into a town, you can use an action to power up or gain a skill point in a particular level. You can talk to someone to further a quest. You can do a bunch of different things. It was pretty fun, especially probably with people. I wasn't, by the end of the demo, like super engaged and like ready to go and finish this game myself, but I feel like this could be fun. And it is very much turn-based. So like I will complete all of my movements and actions, and then it would be Adam's turn, and Adam's going to go in with his person and maybe make progress on the quest that I started, or finish a fight or something like that. So cool little game. I really enjoyed the art style too, how it's like 3D worlds with 2D sticker art for all the character models and things like that. So
yeah, they look like Paper Mario, but like if someone made a playset on top of a table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like playing in a real 3D tabletop with like your Paper Mario cutouts. That's pretty cool.
So yeah, straight up hardcore D&D, even like with dice rolls and shit like that. So really enjoyed that game. Paladins coming to platforms that I don't remember. And PS5, PS4, Nintendo Switch, and early 2024. It says.
There we go.
All right, Adam. What's
All
up?
right, let me see. We've got that one. I'm going to do that one last because that was my game of show. I'm going to say, okay, here's one. Here's one for all the nerds out here. Play a little game from Stone Blades. It is called Soul Forge Fusion. So this one is really interesting because, you think about it.
Oh, was this the card game that I saw you playing?
This is a card game. So think very much Magic the Gathering, whatever. You have a deck. I've got this kind of deck. I've got a zombie deck and whatever. Think of that. And this was cool about this game. I'm shocked no one has done it. There is a physical card deck aspect of it. Like you can go buy a starter pack, buy boosters, and play a physical game of cards with this card game. One of the creators is a guy who worked on like the Marvel trading card game, and other guys, someone who worked on Magic the Gathering. So it's like people who really know how to make these CCG kind of games.
Is it like a Toys to Life type thing where the cards that you have physically somehow influence the game, or are they just two separate things?
So yeah, that's what's interesting about it. So again, Magic the Gathering type game, there's physical cards, whatever you can play with people. They also have a video game version of this game where when you buy a pack of cards, you can scan them into the video game and use your real cards in a video game.
Oh, I like that.
And then the video game plays like Slay the Spire, where it's like, all right, here's my deck. I've got a map and I make this choice, go up here, go up here. This is pros and cons to go in to fight this boss or whatever. And you play like, or the first part of Inscription, where like you're on the map and you pick which one to go to.
Yeah.
That's also came from Slay the Spire. But they have that as a full video game. So there's a video game where you play the card game on, pick your own adventure kind of campaign mode, but then actual physical cards as well. And like, why has nobody thought of that? Because like, think about if you could buy, Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic the Gathering and then like play an actual, not just like a digital version, but like an actual video game with that. Like, why haven't people done that? But that's what SoulForge Fusion is all about. And I played it. So again, normally your appointments are supposed to be 30 minutes. Sometimes they'll tell you an hour, but he was just like, let me keep playing. And I think I played it for like an hour and 15 minutes because I got through a whole run. I got to the last boss and lost because it's a spider and it just beat the hell out of me.
It's so funny. You texted the group saying, at SoulForge, I think you said I was supposed to spend a half hour, but I just spent over an hour there. And Joel read the text out loud to me because I was hanging out with him, and he interpreted that as like, I got stuck with this dev, and like I don't know how I couldn't get out of it, and they kept me here over an hour. But no, you were like, "Fuck, this game is great. I'm gonna play it as long as they'll let me." That's cool.
Yeah, because I was playing the digital, like the video game. I played only the video. I didn't buy any physical cards. I actually kind of want to go buy physical cards because apparently there's like they're algorithmically made where each deck you buy is specific, like unique in some kind of way.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. I'm going to do that. But yeah, I only played the video game version and I was going through it and I picked something that was supposed to be like hard mode because it was like, I can't explain the mechanics, but it's like normally you start out with like 50 hit points and I'm like, I'll start out with 20 hit points, but all my cards get upgraded every time I play them kind of a thing. So it's like risk reward. I was like, this will get me through my demo. I'll understand the game. I'll have fun. But I like kept winning. And I was like, well, I got to go to the end. So I went all the way to the end. That's why it took me more time because I was just playing the game and really liking it. So I was not expecting this because I got an email about it. And I was like, I guess, because that's the thing about PAX is like there's a lot of video game stuff, but then like maybe a third of the convention center is also just like either tabletop, like D&D, dice, whatever sellers, and also just like card game stuff. Like Matt and Dallas just only played Star Wars Unlimited the entire weekend. So I know that stuff is there, but I normally don't go to that part of it. But for this one, I was like, okay, they're giving me an email. They said there's a video game here. Sure, I'll check it out. And I played it for like an hour and 15. I really liked it. So it's SoulForge Fusion, SOL Forge. And that is, you can wishlist that on Steam. Early access is supposed to come out sometime this year.
Dope.
Cool. Let me tell you, too, about a little game called Footgun Underground.
I'm sorry,
this
what?
Game was quite the experience. Footgun Underground.
Okay, you did not give me assets for this. We're gonna go back to us.
No, I don't think I got.
He didn't give me
assets for it, unfortunately. But I will do my best to paint as illustrative of a picture of my experience with this game as I possibly can. So the way that, booking a lot of these demo appointments work is typically you get an email, and through that email, you can access sort of like an online portal in which you can specifically select the time and date on which you want to book your demo. This is one of the few demos I booked where the email in question did not link me to an online portal. Instead, it just said, hey, just email us back and let us know around when you want to do your demo. And it's like, okay, well, I'll email them and just be like, hey, can you give me something like in the middle of Friday afternoon? And hopefully it won't intersect with like another thing I want to do in the afternoon that time. And thankfully they got back to me. They're like, yeah, we'll give you your demo at around 3:30 p.m., I think. And I'm like, okay, perfect. That looks good. About a day before the show floor opens, I get another email from them. And they're like, hey, the Footgun Underground demo booth has moved location and will now be between the Kidia booth and the Fangamer booth. And then attached in the email was like the map of PAX, but there's just like a roughly scrawny X between those booths. I'm like, that's interesting. Well, what's going on here? Did they, like, why would their booth not be displayed on the map if it's apparently been moved there? And they're like, you can contact our, person of contact via email and WhatsApp. And I'm like, okay, sure. So earlier in the day, me and Adam were exploring the show floor. We figured we might as well go around to all the booths we're eventually going to have to go to over the course of the weekend and just get familiarized with where everything is. And we went to the location in question, and we were like, that's odd. Why is there no booth here? They said in the email, our booth has moved location to between these two other booths, but we're not seeing anything. And we're like, well, whatever. It'll make more sense later on. And so eventually 3:30 rolls around, and I'm at the location between these two other booths. And I reach out to the point of contact. I'm like, hey, I'm currently at the location. What's up? And it's like, you can come and meet me over here. I'm dressed with this clothing. And so I managed to find him. I meet him up and he's like, okay, cool. We don't actually have a booth. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go to one of the tables in the cafeteria area and we're going to play the game on my Steam Deck. And I was like, okay. I want to preface this by saying, like, I want to be as sympathetic as possible to the Footgun Underground people because, and I don't think this is a story I've ever told on any of these podcasts, but back in the day, back when I used to write for the YouTube channel Gamers, spelled GVMERS, I actually applied to have a booth at a local Montreal convention where I could like show off footage from Gamers documentaries and hand out cards to people. And basically my application got up until the point where I was officially like certified as somebody who could like promote gamers on the show floor, but I didn't get a booth. That last part eluded me because I guess it just ran out of space or whatever. And so I suspect it's probably a similar situation here where I suspect they, made their application. They were told by PAX, great, you guys are certified to be able to show off Footgun Underground on the show floor, and you've got a booth, but then circumstances probably got in front of them and they probably lost access to the booth at the last minute. So I do want to say, while it was like a little bit awkward at first, I do feel bad for them because I've been in that exact situation, and I know that's not a position anybody envies. And I do also want to say that the actual game itself, Footgun Underground, pretty good. This is a roguelike soccer game in which you're basically traveling between these different rooms that contain sometimes enemies, sometimes coins, sometimes vending machines that you can spend the coins on. And the way in which you kind of attack enemies is basically by kicking around soccer balls that will spawn into the sort of minuscule arenas in which you fight them. And it's one of those games where going into it, I was like, I like roguelike games, don't have a lot of experience with simulation soccer games like FIFA, for example. Is this going to be a detriment to my experience with this game? And it really wasn't. Basically, kicking around the soccer balls and using them to defeat enemies was surprisingly intuitive, while it's still being clear that there was like a very high skill ceiling that I could continue to kind of like work towards and kind of fully wrap my head around as I played more and more of the game. I didn't fully manage to complete the run. Unfortunately, I got lobbed off before I could make too much progress, but I had a surprising amount of fun with it. Like some of the other games we've talked about, this is a game that you can wishlist on Steam as well. It's apparently planning to release at some point in April, which is just next month. So yeah, go check it out. I was surprisingly impressed with it.
April is tomorrow.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it is tomorrow, but I feel like if you're releasing on April 1st, that might not be a good idea. It's from developer Turtleneck Games and publisher Cobra Teku Games. So yeah.
So there's two things on that. Very fun story, just in general. I told that like situation because I knew someone else who also had that exact same appointment, and I was talking to somebody else who was like, "Oh yeah, like I don't dox anybody." It was like this person like works in PR and like publishing, so like they kind of get the idea. And like, oh, I did that last year, like a thing where like I took appointments and just like met people to like play a game. So apparently it's relatively common. And the other thing apparently is like all of them will tell you this. Every developer or PR person you talk to, there's like wish listing means a lot. Like even if you don't have a Steam account, or let's say you don't play on PC, apparently it's very easy to get on PC. That's why you see most indie games go to PC. But if you get a lot of wish list, you can be like, hey, Nintendo, look at all these wish lists. You should think about getting us on your console. Hey, PlayStation, think about it. Hey, Xbox, maybe put us on Game Pass. So apparently wish listing, even if you're not planning to buy it on that console, will help it get onto other consoles. So if anything we say sounds interesting, they're all like, please wish list. For the love of God, please wish list the game. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us out a lot. So just a little point that I was told a lot about.
Love it. Let me tell you about a game called Tape to Tape. This is a roguelite hockey game that you can go and play right now. It is in early access on Steam for, I think, $20 early access right now. I watched Matt and Dallas play this on Saturday, and then I played it myself with Joel on Sunday, and it is just a fun-ass time. It is an arcadey hockey game where all of the different teams that you can play against each other have different types of abilities. Like Matt was playing as one called the Princesses, where you could fart, and it's like an AoE effect, a little cloud that comes out and like gets rid of anyone who's trying to crowd you on the ice. There's also you could just straight up throw your hockey sticks at people, a little bit like we just saw on screen there too. So lots of really cool and fun effects, but apparently the single player campaign is like an actual roguelite game where you start out with a team just like of basic shit. Matt, this is all from what Matt was telling me because he went home immediately and bought it and played a bunch of it. But you start as like a basic team, and then you go through a bunch of different objectives. Like one of them is just like win a game. The next one might be by the end of 3 minutes have the most goals, or one of them might be, I don't know, fucking control the puck for the most amount of time, whatever it might be. And you just unlock more and more abilities that you can choose to put on different people in your team, or you can like load up one person with a ton of abilities and then everyone else kind of supports that person. So it's just a fun time. Early access right now. I don't know when it's coming out of early access, but go wish list it on Steam if you want it, because that's a big deal, as we just learned.
Yeah, no, I played, so at PAX, there's a single player roguelike mode. And again, everyone who's played that game is like, it's great, like the single player stuff. But on the show floor, it was like a multiplayer, like versus. So I also played that as well. And I played as the disco guy, where he just like disco dances and everyone stops and has to dance with him against the guys who had the grappling hooks. It's like, this game is just like dumb fun and like, yeah, very good, like arcadey sports fun. I liked it a lot too. I didn't buy it immediately, like, was it Matt or Dallas?
Matt.
Both of them. It was Matt. They love hockey. They're from the Northeast. But yeah, no, it was very good. I concur.
All right, Adam, what's next?
Oh, I'm going to do one. Which one am I going to do? I'm going to do one that we all did. I think. Maybe not Chad. Toge. So we went and saw Toge Productions. The people who put out Space for the Unbound, Coffee Talk 2, 1 and 2. The game I went and played was Krieg's Front Tactics. I got an email. First, I've heard a lot of good things about, like, I already like their games as it is. I've heard a lot of good things about, like, their team and their presence who, like, go to these shows. Shout out to Arya. But I was like, all right, Krieg's Front Tactics, what is this? Because everyone knows I love tactics games. I'm super into XCOM. And he was like, oh yeah, basically it's like Front Mission, because they stopped making Front Mission games. So it's like a tactics mech game in like PS1 style graphics. And it is tough and it is super fun. I was playing the demo. Dudes got wiped out. I was over here like sniping a robot from 1,000 yards away. got destroyed.
That sniper, I played the demo as well. That sniper is definitely the MVP. I would not have survived without the sniper's help.
Yeah. It is a game that I played it because, again, I'm into these type of things. I like mechs enough. But I was like, man, this game is what's up. I'm so happy that we were able to get, like, also shout out to Toge. I think I'm allowed to show this. I don't think it's a big deal. They give us, so a lot of times when you go to these appointments, like, you'll get like a USB drive. That's how we get like a lot of assets and videos and stuff. So Toge gave us a demo kit for those watching the video. It's like in like an actual plastic case, like you would get like PS3, whatever era. There's an instruction manual inside, like giving the history and talking about all their games. It's like thick. It's, what is this? It is a 30 page instruction manual. And then all the demos for everything they had were on their USB drive. So I was able to come home and keep playing Kriegsfront because I was like, I love this game.
That's
I want to
awesome.
play more, please. So, again, I think all the stuff they do was good. I think Joel, who went with us, did he play Space for the Unbound?
Yeah.
I think he did because it wasn't cozy. So it was him. So they have a lot of cool stuff there. But I was like, give me the robot tactics game. And highly, highly recommend it. It was very, very good.
Yeah, this game was a lot of fun. It took me a bit of time to fully wrap my head around all the kind of games mechanics and combat options that I had at my disposal. But once I got in the groove of things, it was definitely a good time. I will say, like, when this game kind of finally properly releases, I am looking forward to there being perhaps a little bit more of a kind of narrative wrapper, giving context to some of the fights that we were getting into in this game. I think that if the game is just pure combat like this, it's not necessarily super appealing to me, but the combat itself is great. So yeah, definitely recommend as well.
All right, Alex, what do you got?
Adam decided to talk about a game that I so happen to have played as well. So I'm going to talk about a game that Adam so happened to have played as well. And that game is Rah Boom. This is a game that we played at the Midwest Games booth, which may or may not have had another game that I'll be discussing a little bit later. And it is a 4-player beat-em-up style game. If you've played games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, for example, you'll be very familiar with the style of game. You play as 4 intergalactic futuristic cheerleaders that gotta cheerlead and beat the snot out of some alien dudes, both in VR and in real life. And it was kind of exactly what you expected, but pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm with Cozy. I think it was last year, when the Shredder's Revenge came out. And I was like, oh yeah, this is how I remember these games being, but actually good. So I kind of got into Shredder's Revenge a lot, or maybe it was 2 years ago, whenever it came out. So this one, I was like, oh yeah, sign me up. I like the art style. Very, very like cartoon, like, like the deep, hard lines and whatever stuff. And it was fun. I liked the characters. They had a little story mode going on, the voice acting and stuff. The demo itself was relatively short. I think it was like a level or 2. But playing it, I would like to play more. We even had we're seeing in the video now, they had the whole Battletoads run away from the thing for 2 minutes section of it. But I just like this kind of game. Like, again, I love Turtles, Shredder's Revenge so much. It's like, yeah, you give me a cheerleader version of that in the future with swords and guns and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably gonna enjoy it. So I did. Again, I do wish there was more. I'm interested to see where the game continues to go because I like everything they've shown so far. So if that's like a full-fledged like 5-hour campaign or whatever, I'll be super into that.
Dope. Let me tell you about Deathbound, y'all.
Ooh.
Deathbound.
By the way, real quick. So I said this to Mike because, our buddy, my buddy, not your buddy, he doesn't like you. I'm just kidding. He thinks you guys are great.
I talked to him. I literally said like 4 words to him at PAX, and it was the first 4 words and only 4 words I've ever said to him. And it was,
yes, I love
kill you.
Oh, wow. You said that to Mike?
Those aren't the words.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
But yeah, so he, he's doing publishing or working PR for this game. And you guys, when we saw like the emails, you're like, oh man, this game looks cool. It's like a party-based Souls thing. That sounds cool. Well, check that out. We've never heard of this before. Like, guys, like I literally previewed this game on this podcast. I just thought it was funny that you guys were like, I'm glad that you were interested in wanting to play it, so I'm not going to poo-poo your party or whatever. But I'm like, I literally did talk about this game on the podcast.
I don't know. It just has such a generic-ass name to it, Deathbound, that like this could have been any number of indie games that you've talked about on this podcast, and who knows.
Yeah, that's
But
fine. Go ahead.
the game itself, yeah, it advertises it as the first party-based Souls-like. And when I hear that, I thought, oh, we're all going in with a party of us to play Souls-like together. And in my brain, before I even got there, I was like, Remnants did that, so you're not.
Yeah, we had a little bit of confusion there where we were trying to figure out, can we book a demo for multiple people at once?
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh no, it's party bases and you're controlling multiple people as just a single player game.
Yeah, so it is as like in a JRPG, you have a party of characters that you get to swap between on the fly while you are playing the Souls-like game. And Souls-like is a very popular genre now, and a lot of people are doing it. Lies of P was our game of the year last year, but this one sets itself apart in a lot of really interesting ways. One is just the fact that you have a party. So normally in these games, you like commit to a weapon type or, a gameplay type where you're a melee or you're a magic focus or you're faith-based magic versus regular magic. But in this one, you are one singular being. I don't know how else to describe it. You are one being walking around who has other people's essences that you pick up along the way. And those you can have up to 4 of them at once, kind of mapped to your directional buttons. And those become your different gameplay styles. So in the demo, we were able to play as a magic wielding one, as more of like a kind of barbarian one with a big 2-handed hammer. There was like an assassin type character, and then you eventually get like a paladin type knight character or like a fighter type character. And not only can you switch between them on the fly, but they each have their own health bar. And so as one of them starts to get low on health, attacking with a different one increases the health of those that are around, of those in your party. There are also really interesting ways that the makeup of your party, they all have different backgrounds and different belief systems and things like that. So depending on where they are placed in your party, they might get you buffs or debuffs as well. So you can, like, actually having them placed on the D-pad in specific locations can be beneficial. And it looked like from the skill tree, there was a huge skill tree in this one. It looked like maybe there are 8 total essences in this game, at least in the demo of this build that we played. But yeah, I really, really had a good time with this. It looks extensive. I really enjoy that it's a skill tree type thing in a Souls game, rather than like you don't get weapons, you don't get armor. You do get like a couple of accessories that you can equip that will augment your gameplay and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it is more of a traditional RPG type Souls experience, even from a gameplay mechanic, like a story like mechanic. Normally Souls-like games, you get a bunch of the story by reading item descriptions or watching an hour-long YouTube video afterwards. And this one, we talked to the devs afterwards for about 10 minutes, and they were just like, yeah, this is every single thing in this has meaning. You're gonna, like, whenever you get a new essence, you actually play through this whole backstory of this character to figure out who they are and how they ended up where they are and what they stand for. And he's like, none of the story comes from obtuse item descriptions. All of it's going to be delivered to you in a way that's really engaging. I was like, cool. I'm really into that. So really, really excited to play this whenever the hell it comes out, or if it's already out. I don't know. I'm sure it's on Steam wishlist. I don't know, but it's cool.
So I played this game as well. This is actually the last game that I played on the show floor that I had a demo appointment for. And I'm not as high on this game as I think you two are. I think that this game is playing around with a lot of interesting stuff. I think that the whole being able to swap between your 4 different party members thing is interesting mechanically. I definitely appreciated a lot of the more kind of direct storytelling, which I got to experience a bit of in the demo with the new essence that it rewards you after a bit of play. Previewing these games at an event like PAX is tough because, these are often a work in progress, or even if they're already released on Steam Early Access, there are still parts and things within them that are shifting and still being polished up. That being said, what I played of it, I feel like the kind of potential promise of the kind of like potentially great gameplay experience that it had in store didn't, I think, really kind of grip me in the way that, say, something like a Lies of P did last year. And I know, like, it's an unfair comparison because Lies of P, a very heavily polished, AAA level video game that released last year that, has had all the time to bake in the oven that this game has not yet had. But Lies of P, I bring that up because I feel like that game really showed, like, hey, being a non-From Software Soulsborne game is like no longer an excuse to be like truly excellent. Like that game showed that you can make like a truly excellent game that what's his name, Miyazaki, never laid his hands on. And I feel like I was going into this demo hoping that this game would really kind of sell me on its gameplay in the way that something like Lies of P did, and it just didn't quite do so for me personally. But I'm definitely I get the sense that the two of you will definitely be paying attention to this game going forward. And I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say.
Dope. So question here now, because I know we have things left, would be our game of shows. I have two things that are not the game of shows. Do you guys have any? How do you want to do this, Jed? Do you want to do the last two?
Yeah, I have a couple things as well.
Yeah, I've got a couple things that are not game of show as well.
Okay, because we should probably end with those ones. Okay, I was just pointing that out real quick. I'll do one real quick so I can think as I'm next up because it was you, Chad.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. We were supposed to have an appointment to play the game. Something happened.
It was supposed to be the first game that we were going to play on the show floor, in fact.
It was supposed to be, yeah. Something happened. Things got canceled, whatever. Things got moved around. It's cool. So I was like, all right, let's just go and play this. So me and Joel went and played Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It is from Milphonic, so, Predator Hunting Grounds, Friday the 13th, that kind of a game where it's, I believe it's 7 humans and 3 clowns, or the clowns are trying to kill the humans or whatever. So me and Joel got in line and played it. It feels very much like one of those games. Joel, so it's interesting. Again, I have no affinity for the Killer Clowns. I've never even seen the movie. I know it's a thing, never watched it. Like Friday the 13th, I was like, oh yeah, I'm into Jason Voorhees, let's do this. So like apparently like turning people into cotton candy, that's a thing that happens so clowns can eat people, whatever, I guess. The game itself was fun enough. I was like, all right, I played as a human. Joel escaped in I think 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Oh shit.
I followed Joel's character. No, I went somewhere else. Someone else opened so there were multiple, so the whole thing is like the clowns are trying to kill the humans are trying to escape. So Joel, I think, spawned next to like a jet ski and then had the ability, like someone brought him the materials to start the jet ski and he was just gone in like the first 2 minutes of the game. He was out. Someone unlocked the bridge and then I just ran behind him and also escaped, and then the bridge collapsed because I think probably only a couple people can go on the bridge. So that was cool. It's like, all right, we found the materials. I had a weapon. I killed a clown once because I shot him in the head. Fun stuff like that. And then once the game ended as the human and you escape, you don't do anything, but you had just watched the rest of the match. So for the next 10 minutes, I just stood there. So there's this idea where you can play like little mini games like the whack-a-mole or whatever to like give somebody a power up. Where it's like, oh, this guy's still alive. I'm gonna try to throw him some ammo. I'm gonna throw him a health item or whatever. And you can do that, but you just play like a little mini game in the corner. And it was like, again, the idea is good. I like most of the other games. I just don't know. The balance felt weird. It just feels weird to escape so quickly and then just have nothing to do and have to wait for the 5 other humans to either live or die. That would be my only gripe with it. Otherwise, it feels like one of those games. If you like it, whatever, it is what it is. I didn't get to play as a clown, but I was like, oh, yeah, cool, I escaped. Now what? Because I feel like in Friday the 13th or in Predator, because it's less people. Well, Friday the 13th is a good amount of people. Like Predator, it was like 4 or 5 people against someone Predator. But like you have to be together because if you go by yourself, you could die. In this game, you can just go by yourself and escape, and then that's the end of the game. So maybe it's a balance thing. Maybe it's a thing they fix another time. Maybe it's more fun with friends, but just on its own, like I don't think I would buy Killer Clowns just to play by myself with randoms online. That sounds like an awful time. But it's fine, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know if this was the case for you, but I feel like it's exactly those games that you've mentioned already, but without the IP that most of the world is familiar with to hook them into it. But I think this was also just a bad demo experience because it's 10 people per game and they had us all set up at these stations. But the way that my game went, I played with Matt. The way that my game went is they had all 10 computers set up. The 3 that were the clowns were also reserved already. And then they started assigning us to computers. Like they started the game and then started assigning people to computers. And the clowns were the last people to be assigned to a computer. So the person who started, the first human, had probably a good 60 to 90 seconds head start. And then, of course, the game has already started, so no one gets a tutorial of what you're doing or how to play. So if you haven't played those other games, you kind of have no idea what the fuck's going on. So the clowns, I feel like in ours, were definitely at a disadvantage. And I think half of us escaped. I escaped just because I was running around and I happened to stumble upon a jet ski that somebody already put all the shit that you needed on it, and I just disappeared on the jet ski. But yeah, I think just in general, the demo experience itself was not well done. And so that led to a lot of, like, as you mentioned, kind of unbalanced parts of it, especially towards the parts of the clowns. Shout out to Gamers Head Podcast. And just subscribed. What's up? And said I didn't even get to play the game.
Hey, shout out.
Yeah, that's Roger, who we ran into like 17 times. Roger was like, "Hey, ours got canceled. I'm going to try to get you in on my next one." But just apparently, according to in the chat, didn't happen. So yeah, I just had to walk up because it was. I'm with you. I think the game is fine. I think that the demo atmosphere was not the best. I think I'll give you that.
I will say I did not play this demo. One of the cooler booths on the show floor. Definitely pretty cool.
Definitely an attractive booth. Yeah. All right, Cozy, what's your next game?
I'll just knock these two out real quick. A game that I wanted to book an appointment for, but did not get my appointment, but still managed to play on the show floor was Questmaster. This is the Apogee game where it's basically a Zelda dungeon making game. Think Mario Maker, but for 2D top-down Zelda games. With this particular demo, I had the option of either playing through like one of 3 pre-made demos made by the developers, or just spending some time messing around trying to make my demo using the make my own dungeon, using the kind of dungeon making tools at my disposal. And so I spent my 10 minutes doing that. It was definitely one of those things where I was like, this is kind of fun, but I definitely need more than 10 minutes to kind of fully wrap my head around like all the things that I can do with this dungeon maker. It is playing through it. I'm like, man, Nintendo really missed out not immediately jumping on this train and making their own version of this. Because like after Mario Maker came out, I remember thinking to myself, I feel like if they were to do a Zelda version of this, it would be a lot tougher. Like I suspect that they probably don't want to do this sort of thing because it's just that much more difficult and complex. After playing this demo, I'm like, no, I feel like Nintendo totally could have pulled this off had they just decided to do so. That being said, definitely a lot going on. I definitely didn't make anything particularly of note that people would have enjoyed playing in the 10 minutes I was there. But definitely seems fun. I am a little bit like, I think part of what made like the Mario Maker experience so great is just the sheer like number of like things at your disposal, ways in which you could create levels, even before we got to all the new additions and improvements in Mario Maker 2. And playing through this demo, it's like, there's a lot of stuff for me to wrap my head around, but will this even be enough? Do they plan on supporting this post-release with new gadgets and gizmos and things that you can put in your self-made dungeon? So that is definitely something to consider, but I am definitely going to keep an eye on this one. And I do also want to shout out a game that I just randomly found on the show floor called Collapses. This game's real simple. It's a iOS Android game, basically very similar to Candy Crush, where you're kind of doing match 4s of various similarly shaped and colored objects. And basically whenever you make a match 4, it causes all the objects around them to cascade down, and you get points based on that. The one twist with Collapses, however, is when you rotate the tablet in question that you're playing the game on, it actually rotates the orientation of gravity. And so if you're like, oh man, I wish I could make a match of 4 different objects over there, but I could only do so if the gravity was the reverse of what it is right now. You can literally 180 degree rotate the tablet you're playing it on, do that, and hey, voila, you're off to the races. Very, very simple. It's not like a game I'm like, oh man, game of the show, because that's for another game that we'll talk about in a moment. But a game that I actually had a lot of fun with for the brief period of time that I played of it.
Yeah, so, I played it too when I was hanging out with somebody and the show floor. We were just walking. It was like after all the appointments were done, I was like, all right, I've got an hour till I got to leave. I'm just gonna walk around, and that was one of them. Like, oh yeah, this game's dope as shit. It's like so simple, and it was really good. I liked it.
Yeah.
All right, my probably last one that y'all won't have before my game of the show was Animal Well. This is a game.
Oh, yeah. You got to play it, huh?
Yeah, I got to play Animal Well. This is one of those games where Joel and I were just walking around, again, probably like an hour before the end. Oh no, it was like right before we had to go to another game that I can't talk about until April 30th. So look out for that. In exactly 30 days, there's another game that I'll be able to talk about that we're embargoed on. But we were like, we've only got a little bit of time before we have to walk over to that. So there was no one. There were 2 empty chairs at Animal Well. We're like, fuck, let's just sit down in those chairs. This is a Metroidvania. As you can see on the screen right now, if you're watching, it is like a 16-bit Metroidvania puzzle platformer type game that is, I don't know, it's very much like doesn't tell you anything. You're just kind of exploring. And in fact, I found out at the end of the demo that Joel and I had done 2 completely different things. And I had this cat that's on the screen right now is something that he ran into and didn't know how to kill in his game. And like, I didn't even know that cat existed in my game, nor were these ravens. And so like, we just explored completely different areas of the map, doing different puzzles and trying to figure out what's going on, to figure out where to go and what to do. And while that seems really ambiguous and it seems like, man, that would be really frustrating, I was like, oh no, I actually just genuinely had a great time exploring room to room and learning what's behind this corner, what's on the next screen, and kind of filling out my map. I don't know the actual story behind the game or what you're trying to do or what an animal well even means, other than I'm in these dark caverns and there are statues of animals a lot. So, but the game itself was really fun and clever, so I enjoyed it. Coming to PS4, Switch, and PC.
Pretty soon, May, right? Either maybe? April or May. Yeah, I know it's very soon. People are excited for that one. All right, so I have one more. So I think I'll just do one really quick, just as a shout out, and then I'll get to our game of shows, because I think we're all ready to do our game of shows, right? The last one, we were at, I'm not going to say it because it was Chad's thing. We were at a certain booth, and right next to it was a really cool party game. They had a couch, and everyone was just sitting down and playing. I'm like, oh, Joel, we actually have an appointment for that, but let's go over there and play it just because we're waiting around right now. Astro Duel 2 is basically, Towerfall. It's like a party platformer, kind of a combat game. The twist on this one, they talked about Towerfall a lot when we played it. It's like, yes, obviously, Towerfall's great. The thing about this is that, again, it's the multiplayer. You can team up or kill people. One-hit kills a lot of the time. But you can jump out of the gravity areas and then be in space. Or you can just have missions where you're just in spaceships. So it's like spaceship combat, like 2-hit kills, or you can sometimes jump inside of gravity. Now you're running around with guns and stuff. That game is out now. I know I believe it's on Epic and Steam. It might actually be on Switch. And that one's out. Look up Astro Duel 2. It is such a fun party game. Just like get some friends together, 6 players, and just like go around and play those. Those games they were such a thing at a certain point, and then like we didn't get a lot of them anymore, but like they're a ton of fun just to like run around and kill people with your friends. Astro Duel 2, very good, and it's out now, so everyone check it out. But as for, so I asked Chad to do it, and he did it, and it was awesome. It was better than I thought it was going to be. Chad printed out awards for everybody. It's like
sorry. Can I say one last thing about Astro Duel 2?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. My bad. Yeah.
This was a game that I did not end up getting to play. Because every single day we saw this on the floor, and it's 6-person co-op, and every single day everyone was like, we should all just get in line and play this, the 6 of us. I was like, cool, yeah. And then the next day I texted the group, it was like, hey, if anyone wants to do Astro Duel, I've got a gap from like 2 to 3 or a gap at like 10 to 12. And everyone's like, yeah. And then at the end of every day, I feel like 2 more people told me, oh yeah, we just went and played it ourselves anyway. I was like, motherfuckers. Everyone's like, yeah, we should play this all together. And so I waited, and then everyone played it on their own and never got to play it. So I guess I have to play this IRL and buy it on Steam, I guess.
I will say, chatting, we'll talk after the show. Maybe I have a code for you, bud. But it is on Switch, Epic Game Store, and Steam. So everyone check that out. It's really good. All right. But Chad 3D printed out us some awards. We gave them to people. It was like, this will be a fun idea. Give on top of the patches, which was also a great idea. So instead of business card, we did patches, the RAF pack patches. But then we also had awards that each of us gave out. So I'm up next. So I'll talk first. My game of the show, a game that I absolutely adored, is a little game called Let's Revolution! No, Let's Revolution. It looked really cool whenever they sent the emails for the appointments. I was like, oh, this game just looks gorgeous. Like, I love the art style. And then I did a little research and read about them. It's like, oh, it's like from an animation studio who like worked on Spider-Verse and stuff. It's like, oh, these are like real like artists, like full-time jobs, or they're artists, and they made a game. So I went and talked to him. He's like, yeah, so like 60 of the people wanted to like make a game, Like just as like they're like, hey, what do you guys want to do here at this studio? And they're like, we want to make a game. So this is the game they came out with. It basically, it's such a. I love how indie games are like, hey, here's a really easy, simple idea that just no one has made a game off of in a long time. It's Minesweeper. You straight up, it is you're on a board. You don't see the board until you click and move your character onto it, and then it's like, so there's roads. Bad guys are on roads, but the king's on a road, and you need to get the king, and you need to kill the bad guys. So when you jump onto an empty tile, it's like, all right. There's a 3 in the corner, which means 3 tiles touching this one have a road on it. So there could be a bad guy, could be whatever, and it's just a puzzle game, and you've got combat options like you've got special attacks, you've got weapons, you can do that kind of stuff. But it's Minesweeper, a puzzle roguelike whatever game, and it's gorgeous. And I was like, I don't know how someone did not think of this sooner, because what a simple idea, and it's so great. Again, it's so gorgeous, and I loved my time with it. And I was like. I was thinking like, which is it going to be? I was like, maybe it'll be, Lucid. I really liked, but I was like, man, Let's Revolution is doing something so cool, and it really clicked with me. Like the minute I played it, I was like, I got to give these guys the award. So yeah, Let's Revolution, which is out on PC now, but it comes out to every console. I think in April. I'm double checking the date on that, but that got my Adam's Gamer Show from Respawn Aim Fire. I will tell you when it comes out, but I would say you have no excuse not to play this amazing game. Because it's coming out everywhere very, very soon. Arrives on so April 11th. It'll be on Xbox, PS4, PS5, and Nintendo Switch. It is already on Steam right now, and it's got awards all over the place. People love it. Check it out. Let's Revolution.
This is a game that I also played as well, basically at Adam's recommendation, and I also really enjoyed it. Were it not for the game that I ultimately gave my Game of Show award to, this would probably be my favorite thing that I played on the show floor as well. It was one of those games where, like, I could have kept playing the demo, and I was like, no, I think I gotta hold off, stop while I'm ahead, and just sort of save my excitement for when this game properly comes to consoles. Because the game has been out on PC for a little bit, but will be coming to consoles within the next couple of months, is how I understand it.
April 11th is when it comes to everywhere.
There we go.
2 weeks.
April 11th, very soon. Very soon. And so, yeah, I will definitely check this out on consoles once it releases there.
All right, Cozy, what is your game of the show?
My game of the show, and unfortunately, so I'll start off by saying, as you know, I oftentimes like to have many a bird join me here in my OBS virtual cam setup. I, unfortunately, did not have the foresight to think ahead of time of adding another bird to my setup. So I'm not going to have any birds appear there, but I will have a bird be joining me all the same, and that bird is a duck, because the game that I gave my Game of the Show award to was Duck Paradox. This is a game, hold on, let me just scroll down to my notes real quick, that was also being shown off at the Midwest Games booth, the same booth that was showing off Rah Rah Boom. So this demo was interesting because basically on the PR email that they sent out, they listed this game as a unannounced bullet hell roguelite platformer. And I was like, I mean, it's a real toss-up, booking these appointments for games that don't, have proper titles, that are unannounced, as I'm sure you may or may not know, Chad. But I figured, what the hell, let's throw caution to the wind. Let's book this demo, see what it is. And so, yeah, basically, it's this game called Duck Paradox, where the idea is you're going into these segmented rooms in which you're constantly being pursued by these ethereal ducks. You have to go throughout the room. You have to find a duck that is not trying to kill you, that is your buddy. And then you have to take him back to the kind of starting area where you first entered the room. That will then create a force field. You have to then kill a certain number of the evil ducks while they are within the force field. The way that you kill the evil ducks and also activate various puzzles within these rooms as you make your way through the game is through a gun that shoots these bullets of energy. The thing about these bullets of energy, however, is that they are just as lethal to you as they are to your enemies, and they also will bounce off of walls and other surfaces after that you have shot them out. That's the one thing, is going into the demo, I'm like, I understand the roguelite platformer side of things, but what's with the bullet hell side of things? And basically the bullet hell is all of the bullets that you shoot can potentially kill you, and so you have to be very sparing and very exacting in terms of when you shoot bullets, where you shoot bullets, and how many bullets you shoot, because you shoot too many and you will make the game that much more difficult for you. And the thing about this game is, like, the game, I think, still has perhaps a little bit of polish, a little bit of work to do on its road to its ultimate release. I believe it's currently in early access on Steam right now. It's yet to kind of like fully have its big coming out party. But I think was really kind of taken by this game just because of how different of a roguelike experience it presented a vision of compared to so many of the other roguelike games I've played, we've all played as of recent. So many of these games are about you enter into a room, you button mash to the best of your ability, you equip some new gadgets and gizmos and buffs, and you move on to the next room. And I really appreciated how this game, how kind of puzzly this game was, and how much it forced me to be very, again, deliberate and exacting in terms of how often I fired and where I fired. It definitely was a much different vibe than anything I've kind of played recently, and that compelled me to give it my game of the show for just being such a different and uniquely challenging experience compared to anything else around it.
Dope.
That's Duck Paradox, which brings us to my game of the show. It was actually the very first game that I played while we were waiting for, we were supposed to play Killer Clowns, and so I had the whole morning free, and we were walking around, and Joel and I walked by a game called Pizza Bandit. And on the screen in front of the booth, they were playing some gameplay of what looked like Gears of War or something like a Helldivers almost type, 3D action game, shooting game, paired with Overcooked. And I said, that's a brilliant concept. There's this space marine baking a bunch of pizzas, like Overcooked style, with specific, time constraints and resource constraints, while also trying to shoot a bunch of monsters that are trying to, like, horde mode type, Gears of War type stuff, monsters that are coming and attacking you at the same time. And I said, that concept's brilliant. And then I actually sat down to play the demo and found out it is even more than that. So it's a game where you are a person who used to own a pizza restaurant, and you are trying to stop some time bandits or something like that. It doesn't really matter, because basically you're in this hub world where your pizza restaurant is, and then you fly off to do different missions. And the missions can be, it's 1 to 4 player co-op, so you can all play together, which is really cool. But you fly off to different mission types. Some of them are those Overcooked style ones where you're baking pizzas while a bunch of monsters are trying to attack you. Some of them are more of like a extraction type mission where you run in. This is the one that I played. You run in, there's a safe, and you have to like set up a drill on a safe and then just protect it while it does its work, grab whatever's in it, and then run to the ship to extract. And there's just, it just has a bunch of like really stupid, dumb, cool personality to it. It's like there was in the video that we're watching right now, there was just like a big giant disco ball power up, I guess, and he shot the disco ball and exploded and killed all the enemies nearby. Like it looks really dumb, but also like a really badass Gears or Doom type monster design at the same time. I was really impressed by it. It plays really well, despite being the team that's making it is from Joffsoft, and they are a 6-person team who has been working on this game for 10 months, and that's it. And it was just, I was really impressed by it. Really impressed by it. They said it's coming to definitely PC, obviously, and they're targeting consoles as well. And early next year is when they're hoping to release the game. But yeah, just a ton of cool. And of course, the motto that you saw at the end of the trailer there on the screen too was bullets kill, pizza heals. So the way that you heal in this game is you basically do like a stratagem call in, like in Helldivers, and you call in a giant thing stacked with pizza boxes, and you have to eat the pizza to heal yourself in the middle of this firefight, which is just dumb fun. It's so cool. That was it. That was my game of the show.
Love it.
I played this game as well on your recommendation, Chad. And so the demo that they gave me is actually the demo of just the tutorial of the game, where you basically make your way through a couple of enemies, make your way to the ship, and then they give the opening cutscene where they talk about you being this time bandit that runs this pizza restaurant. And that's where my demo
You didn't
ended.
do the drill mission?
They were like, hey, so what did you think of it? And I'm like, I mean,
that's like
solid, but that, yeah.
You didn't get to play basically any of the game.
Yeah.
Damn.
And
okay.
so I'm glad that you went into all of this, because here's the thing. from what little I played of the demo, I'm like, I really like this atmosphere. I really like this vibe. And mechanically, the game feels very fine, much more than I think I was expecting it to. But yeah, it definitely felt like, there's a lot more to this experience I didn't get to experience. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting the proper full Pizza Bandits experience at some point in the future. Because, yeah, I think that you got the full platter here.
I did.
Dope.
Does that bring us to the end of our PAX talk?
Yeah, just real quick, because I mean, we're probably going to skip out on most of the stuff. It's relatively light from here on. But again, shout out to them letting us come by and play the games and getting media and just meeting everybody. Like, I literally can't name how many people I met that were cool because it's literally like a list of like 25 people. So everybody's there. Just real quick, Dallas, and I made a tweet saying like, do you have anything you want to say about PAX or whatever? I'm not going to read all of Dallas's questions because some of those are inside dirty jokes that we're not going to say on the air. But just one of them, I think, is like, what was your favorite thing about PAX? I think that's like a very good, like, in general about the whole weekend. What was your favorite thing?
For me, it was just this group experience, just being with the 8 of us, just having the constant text message thread of like, I'm over here. Have you tried out this fucking Star Wars trading card game? I just tried out this game over here. Y'all should go play this. Anyone want to go to dinner? Let's all go home and play Jackbox and fucking have a great fucking time. Like, just the 8 of us all being able to experience this convention together and hang out for 3 days straight was probably just my favorite part of the whole experience. In fact, I don't want to go to these by myself ever. So now that I've done this.
This is my first time meeting any of you guys in person. And going into it, I was like, well, sometimes you meet people online and then you finally connect in person and you realize, oh, you're not quite as alike as you thought you were. There were more divides that you couldn't have anticipated outside of, the veil of the internet. And I'm really happy that, we just really kind of gelled super hard and just had a hell of a time, whether it be us, exploring the show floor at PAX, trying to get real mediocre lobster rolls at the Barking Crab, or, just devouring metric tons of Canadian candy like monsters.
Should have got a hot cozy. Hanging out with you guys obviously was cool. Just to like talk to you guys for so long and actually be able to hang in the house and do all that stuff all week. And it's just like, that's my number one thing, is it was just like meeting and hanging out with people. Like people. Oh, go ahead, Cozy. You have your hand raised.
No, you say your thing first, because this will what I will say will be a good bookend to the conversation.
Okay, yeah. No, just meeting you guys, hanging out with people, doing the panel, just like hanging out. I think with people is the best part. That includes like the devs or the PR people, or just like, again, people we meet online and all that. I just want to hang out with folks. I'm with you, Chad, because like I did West, I traveled by myself, but then the whole time I just hung out with Jacob and his crew, because I was like, I don't want to be here by myself. So like actually having a place with people and stuff was like, I made it 100 times better. So very, very good. What was your thing, Cozy?
So the thing that I wanted to say that I think will be a good end cap to this conversation is something that we have not yet talked about, is while we were there, in addition to partying at PAX, playing games, eating shitloads of candy, eating awful lobster rolls, is we also did a live installment of Rafferty with most of the people that were staying in our Airbnb with us. And while it's not live yet, it will be live within the next day or so. So definitely look forward to that on Patreon and eventually publicly to everyone on YouTube towards the end of April as well.
Yeah, it was crazy. Maybe I was just sleepy. Maybe I was a sleepy boy. That's what was going on. And then the last one from Dallas. I think this is interesting. I'm gonna take his question and mess with it. If you could have gotten a free code for any game of the show, what would you have wished it to be? Me, I would have gotten like the big super jam-packed starter pack for SoulForge Fusion. I know it's technically not a game, but like I don't mind buying games and supporting people. But I was like, I could get this game, could get that game, that game's a game of show, but I would love to just get a big fucking pack of cards. Like, technically, it's a video game too, so I'm cheating my way into that because I love that idea of that game. Do I want to spend a bunch of money on cards? I've done that before. So if I could get a free starter pack, that would have been cool as hell. So that's my dumb answer.
Yeah, I would say I would go at Let's Revolution. I think that game, like I said, it was one of those games where I kind of had to physically pull myself away from the demo and be like, I don't want to spoil myself to how good of a game this is right now. And if I could have gotten a code to play that game on my Switch or PlayStation 5 right after the demo, I would have taken it.
I think I'm going to go the Adam route and say I wish I would have gotten a code for just a giant box of Pokemon cards. Because I did play the Pokemon trading card game there, and those I don't collect or play that game, but I would love to sell them on eBay.
I didn't mention that, but I did that with Joel as well. I got what'd I get? I got the starter set that had all the water Pokemon in it. So Inteleon, what's his face from Smash Bros, all the good guys.
Very cool. That's PAX.
That's PAX. And trading card games brings us right into Playtime. We're going to talk about what we played this week on Playtime. Play. One of the tabletop game, or one of the card games that I played at PAX was Star Wars Unlimited, which is a brand new game that apparently just launched like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And as you mentioned, Matt and Dallas spent most of their time over at that. There's so much time there and playing in that same demo deck with Luke and Vader that by the third day, they told him, you guys just, no, you can't play here anymore. You have to go buy cards. Go buy the starter packs, and then you can play over here with your things that you spent money on. And so they did. They went and bought the starter packs and then went back to those tables and continued playing.
God, I love that.
But what was really cool is that Matt happened to also at that time buy a bunch of booster packs on eBay or something like that. And when we went back to Rhode Island, they happened to be delivered that same exact day. So then we, that night after everything, we went back to our Airbnb, and me, Matt, Dallas, and Joel all played. We did a draft where you just like, the 4 of you sit down, all of you have 3 booster packs, and you open up one pack, you pick a card from it and pass the deck around, and you just keep drawing cards until all of you have a 30 card deck, and then you play with that deck. And it was an awesome few hours while Alex was baking 100,000 cookies. And
I was going to say that was the same night where I baked all the maple cookies. It was a great little bit of synergy between the two of us.
So that's a ton of fun. It makes me really upset that I don't have anyone locally that I would ever play card games with here. So looking to go back to Rhode Island in June, and hopefully we're just going to, looks like Joel, me, and Dallas and Matt are going to sit down and play some more Star Wars. Maybe Matt's saving an extra box of boosters, perhaps, if he can not be tempted to open them. And hopefully we'll play a little bit more there as well. That leads me to my second thing here. TTS is Tabletop Simulator. Are you all aware of what Tabletop Simulator is?
Yeah, it's great.
I had never heard of this before, but it's a great way to steal basically any board game or card game that you want in the world. Basically. So it is on Steam, you can buy this game. This game is basically an engine. It is an engine on which you can put whatever you want into it. And it's $20. And people release quote unquote mods for this thing. And a mod might include, I don't know, every Star Wars Unlimited card ever created, and also a bunch of tokens for that game, and also a game board for you to play on. And it also might include, I don't know, all of the Bloodborne board games, and, you know, 1,000 different versions of Risk and Pandemic, and basically any game you can. There are like 15 Jumanjis on there. So yeah, it's a really great way for you to pay $20 to buy an engine and then just let other people create rip-off illegal versions of copyrighted material for you to play with your friends remotely. Because there is not yet a digital legal way to play Star Wars Unlimited with your friends, like there is like Magic Arena or Hearthstone or something like that. So we played Tabletop Simulator, which also is maybe one of the most trash UIs and UXs for any game or anything like that I've ever played. Like, just using Tabletop Simulator is so fucking frustrating, but it was worth it to, I think we were on there dicking around for like 3 hours, maybe 2 to 3 hours. And we played one game because we spent probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours learning how to fucking navigate and use Tabletop Simulator. Like, rotating the camera is so much of a hassle that you wouldn't expect it to be, or like getting, it's a pain in the ass, and it's this shittily designed thing, but it enables cool things to happen. So, Tabletop Simulator, we're all playing some cool things in there. While I was gone, my Destiny Collector's Edition for the Final Shape came in the mail. I have this cool tower here. Oh, not only does it look cool, but it also, sorry, everything on this thing is stealthily a button. Lights up.
Ooh, I like it.
It also, hold on, let me turn the volume up, has sound effects and music and shit. I don't know if Discord's letting us come
Hopefully
through.
the
can't hear
podcast
it.
will hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, it also it'll play like with Destiny music and shit. And then it has little interactive little pieces. So here's a little Ikora, and you put her here, and she says some shit. If you're on the right mode, I can't tell whether I'm on the right mode or not. I don't know. Anyways, cool shit. There are 3 people. There's a Zavala, there's a little Ikora, and there's a Cade 6 little figurine. I emailed customer support and said my Cade 6 didn't come in the box. Y'all sent me 2 of them, but the 3rd one's missing. Turns out the 3rd one is not missing. It's just a cool secret puzzle that you got to figure out on the tower itself. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But the person responded to the email. They're like, "It's a secret. You can go on YouTube and watch it and figure it out if you want, but it's a secret." It's like, oh fuck, that's cool. That's dope. Also came with like a little book that has like there's a booklet, and it's basically a bunch of people all over the galaxy, I guess, and just like writing you letters of support as you're about to go into the Traveler and fight the Witness. And so it's just like a bunch of pictures of like kids drew with crayons and a bunch of like, do it, you're gonna be the best guardian, and it's super cute and cool. And then finally, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Happy Easter. Jesus is born again out of this cave.
He's reborn.
Rebirth. I am now almost 40 hours into this game. I am just now, I think, to the point where Alex was after his first week when he said, "Hey,
Yeah, right.
I just got to Mount Coral. Where are you, Chad?" And I said, "I am 90% of the game behind you." So yeah, I just got there after almost 40 hours. Still fucking loving this game. Doing everything I can before I move on to the next area, which is why it's taking me forever. And I know I said probably early April is when we'll do a full spoiler cast, but not looking likely.
Get to it, Chad.
Yep. That's it for my playtime.
I'm looking forward to when you finally do complete it, because I do want to talk so very deeply.
Yes, I absolutely 100% will still do a spoiler cast whenever that happens to be. And then last thing on here too, Hellblade. We played Hellblade. We just did the Barf episode for that about an hour and a half ago. So that will be up on podcast services by the time you're listening to this. That was our Barf game. Backlog accomplishment with Respawn and Friends. And if you would like to play the next month's game along with us, that is Dave the Diver, another independent AAA game. So Dave the Diver will be for April. If you would like to vote in future polls, go to patreon.com/respawnaimfire or twitter.com/respawnaimfire. Vote there as well. And Alex, what did you play this week?
Like you, I played Hellblade, which once again, you'll be able to hear on our Barf episode, our thoughts on that game, if you didn't listen to the stream that we did just before this one. I also played a little game by the name of Princess Peach Showtime. So this is a game that, when it was initially unveiled, I think myself and many other Nintendo fans were looking forward to as a game that would potentially make up for the sins of the original Super Princess Peach platforming game from way back in the DS days. Game only looked better and better as we saw more and more of it. Then the first round of previews came out, and it was somewhat clear that this game was perhaps not going to be on the same level as some of Nintendo's other great platforming games. And then reviews came out, and they were equally on the same level of being like, it's good, not great. Nevertheless, day 2 into our little PAX trip, I was hanging around at home with the crew, and I was like, you know what? You guys are off enjoying Destiny on your various video game tablet devices. What if I played a little bit of Princess Peach Showtime? So I ponied up the 90 Canadian dollars that it cost me to purchase this game digitally. Mind you, it's Canadian. And we saw
how much a Canadian coin is. Like that was what, like a 6-inch coin?
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's 25 cents maybe?
Yeah.
Imagine $90.
He's referring to the chocolate toonies that I brought along. I was surprised by how much I was enjoying of this game. I unfortunately have not yet beaten it because I had to focus on Hellblade the moment I got back. But this game has a surprising, and we've known this from the previews, but I was not expecting just a sheer level of kind of variety to the various levels this game has to offer, what with Princess Peach constantly changing into all sorts of different outfits and roles. And I think that there are some a real strong standout so far amongst the various Peaches. I think that the Ninja Peach levels in this game in particular are like especially strong. I don't know when I reach the end of the year if I'm going to be like, oh man, the best game of the year. But I am enjoying this game much more than I feel like a lot of the previews and reviews led me to believe that I would be enjoying it. Only real big criticism, frame rate, not so great, not so hot. Chad and Jerica and company got to witness that firsthand, and it is kind of shocking because it's not like this game looks good. It's not like absolutely pushing the Switch to its absolute limit. And also, this is a Nintendo first-party game, so you think that they would have the frame rate on lock. But yeah, the game does not look all that great, and I feel like I don't have a lot of confidence that Nintendo is necessarily cooking up a patch in the future that will fix the frame rate, because I feel like from their perspective, they're probably kind of like, well, it's a game for younger kids. The younger kids aren't going to give a shit about the curtains during the transitions being at literally like 3 frames a second. So that's a little unfortunate. But aside from that, game's good. Looking forward to seeing it through to the end.
Dope.
Adam, what'd you play?
Yeah. I played MLB The Show, just like I normally don't play. I play it for like a week or two. It's fun. Baseball's out. That's cool, but not much really. Honestly, after trips, I don't fucking do anything but fucking sleep. The other thing is I've redacted. I'm playing some games to review. Those will come out maybe later this week. So look forward to me reviewing some cool games. That's it, really.
Sweet.
Busy with that. All right, we're gonna move on to this one, Chad. Oh, go ahead. And
yeah, let's do that real quick because Cozy has a hard out in like 4.5 minutes. So segment from Adam.
If you don't think I've been planning out this timing to get him out exactly 7 o'clock, you're crazy. I've got this down perfect. All right, segment from Adam this week. We're just gonna do. It's the end of the month. End of month for March. So we're going to talk about the best games that came out. This is Meta Madness. I forgot. This name changes every month. Doesn't matter. All right. Number 1 best reviewed game on Metacritic for the month is Unicorn Overlord at an 86. Dragon's Dogma 2 at an 85. Berserk Boy at an 84. WWE 2K24 at an 81. MLB The Show 24 at an 80. And Pepper Grinder at 79.
There's always one game on here that is so highly rated that fucking blows my mind that I've never heard of it. What the fuck is Berserk Boy? We don't have time to find
Berserk
out.
Boy. Oh yeah, I mean it's an indie game that's like Mega Man. People are super into it. So I would say again, it's strong month. I think these games, if you're into them, you're into them. I don't know if anything for our game of the year is going to matter. I do want to try Unicorn Overlord, but I also don't know how much. We'll see. But this is a very much. Are you a nerd for Dragon's Dogma? You're gonna love too. Yeah,
it sounds like Dragon's Dogma to me sounds like so much of a Baldur's Gate type experience that I would feel guilty doing that before Baldur's Gate 3.
You should.
I'm a touch disappointed that Pepper Grinder is only sitting there at a 79 as someone that was anticipating that game. Suspect it'll still be a good time, but it seems like the game didn't perhaps reach the heights people thought it might.
Yeah, it did just come out, so those scores are still updating. That's why I put it on. Normally I cut it off at 80. Like Pepper Grinder came out like a day ago, so I'm still giving. I want to shout it out because the score could rise because it literally just came out. So yeah. And that's it for Adam's segment.
All right, and so as we wrap up here in the next 2.5 minutes, patreon.com/respawn-aimfire. Go sign up. You will get access to live RAF Party very, 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 very soon. You will also get access to Barf Polls, where you can vote for what games we're going to play each month. And if you are not a patron, you get access to Pitch Perfect. The Pitch Perfect we did with a bunch of guests will become live to you. I'm going to just make it live 6 hours early. Who cares? So that'll be live to you as soon as you're hearing this.
That Pitch Perfect features a bunch of cool new additions that you've never before seen on any prior episodes of Pitch Perfect. So if you were like, prior version of Pitch Perfect feels a little played out, feels a little too similar to an old school kind of funny show, check this one out because I have a lot of fun new stuff and it's played by a lot of fun guests.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Thanks, Cozy, for bringing all of your Canadian candy and shit. Thank you, Adam, for helping us organize all this shit. Thank you, listeners. Your homework is go do what we said to do.
And thank you to... Yeah, and just want to say real quick, thank you to you guys for volunteering to do this earlier than we normally do it. I came in real last minute and was like, hey, got stuff happening at 7, and you guys showed up for this, and I want to say thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's almost like people hang out with their family on Thanksgiving. Not Thanksgiving, it's Easter. Jesus Christ.
Atreus' birthday.
It is Atreus' birthday, that's right. All right, folks, thanks so much for listening. Until next time, here's our usual sign-off. Cozy, sing your Christian song again.
Christ has died. Christ is risen. Christ will Oh, come again. I actually don't know if that's even the lyrics. It's in that tone, though. Also, it was, if you had to have watched the Hellblade episode. I think the episode's over by this point. I don't think they're going to even hear this.
Keep going.
We're going to keep it in.